let's start out simple. What is grit?
Well, I definitely think all entrepreneurs have grit. I mean, grit is like staying focused on a vision and goal over the long haul through a lot of ups and downs and physically and emotionally trying to achieve creating a company, solving problems. And so I think, fundamentally, all entrepreneurs need grit because it takes that in the DNA to, to successfully build or create a company.
Do you look for grit in people that you hire?
We don't. I think there's different levels of grit. What we look for is people that kind of have a growth mindset. So we were really focused on creating a data-driven, agile learning organization. I write about that in the book. There's different chapters in that. Well, we look for people that really enjoy learning, are curious, and we have like specific interviewing questions we ask about that. Like, what have you read in the last year? Where do you want to professionally and personally and improve, and how are you thinking about that? How are you doing that? And so that we look for, beyond like a lot of soft skills. In different roles, we need hard skills, but I mean the soft skills that and cultivating a culture is so important.
So can anybody be an entrepreneur?
I don't think so. No. I mean, you have to have a lot of conviction and passion in your idea, in your vision, and you have to have grit, because even if you get a lot of money, no road is easy. It's just there's a lot of pain and happiness along the way, and so you have to be ready for that.
And so what made you a good entrepreneur?
Well, I grew up in Miami. My parents got divorced very young. I was like 6 years old. And, I very early on, I always loved learning. So like, I'm very curious. I love learning. And so I started working very young. When I was like 8 years old, I convinced the maintenance man in our building to let me sweep the floors, clean the pool, and he paid me off book. And so I've been working from a very young age, always trying to just make my way in the world and make money. And I was very intrigued. In eighth grade, we had this one class that talked about all these entrepreneurs and how they created the railway, how they created all these different things that we take for granted today, but back then they were innovations and had good vision. And so I think I've always been an entrepreneur, and then determination and grit came naturally to me.
So as you started out, and you started out relatively young, and I know you've been doing this for a while, why did you think you could do it?
Well, ignorance is bliss. I always thought I could do it. And I always thought, the next month, the next quarter, the next year, things are going to be great. You almost need that. I knew I could do it, but I got to tell you, there's times where you got punched pretty hard during some economic cycles, or in the first year of our company, like we never took funding. So we're a 35-year-old tech company. So we've been through a lot of economic recessions and tech changes. But the first year I wasn't even full time. So the first year I was working as a freelance consultant, writing software for IBM on OS2 PM, and then at night coding on our products. And then my partner was sitting in his bedroom. And so the first year we didn't even have an office, and I wasn't even full time. The first year I was consulting and making money to basically keep, feed us. And it wasn't until year 2 that I came on full time, and we had our own office, 3 of us in one room. We hired someone to answer the phone so that we looked big, and then it was me and Don just writing code and working our hearts out. And quite frankly, that felt like success. Even going into a door into your own office, that's part of the journey too. Is like it's a journey, and like you have to be happy about every win, everything. And so that was success to me, just coming full time, and we had our own office.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on a similar entrepreneur journey myself, and when we first got going, I honestly I honestly felt that one of the reasons why I thought I might be able to pull it off was because I was a bit of a jack of all trades, and you have to, you have to wear many hats. The old adage, right?
Oh yeah.
How were those early years? I mean, what were you? I appreciate the working in order to not have to pay yourself. I definitely respect that, and I think most folks getting into this game in whatever they decide to do have to recognize that the early years are lean and there's typically not a lot of funding. We weren't funded and you weren't funded, and most people won't get funded.
Yeah. I mean, my family thought I was crazy because I was a freelance consultant making a lot of money running software down on Wall Street and, for tech companies. And, but, you learn where are the happy hours, not for the drinks, but for the free food. And, it was like existing on that level. I'm not joking, like at that level, where you're just
I understand
out. And so, I was coding like a lot of, I loved writing software. The first 5 years of our company, I was writing software, but I was also doing all the sales and marketing and PR, and because we had a lot of PR. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I wanted to talk about that because that's the other piece. Somebody's got to sell it. It's one thing to be kind of, passionate about something, and, a lot of people are encouraged to chase their passions. But if you're passionate about something that is devoid of selling, and you just have no interest in selling, it's awfully hard to get through that.
It doesn't work. I mean, it just doesn't work, in my opinion. Yeah, like you learn really early on, sales solves all problems. I mean, so lucky for me, I like talking to people and then I was really deeply into the tech, and we were building, and we still do. We build software for developers and designers, and so I was able to, I could talk directly with any developer and architect, and so I was good at it, but it was lonely. I mean, for 2 years, that phone it'd be so silent. It was back in the days when people actually called you, and like you work so hard to just talk to people, and I worked really hard because we had no money at getting PR and talking to all the editors, and we had this one big breakthrough where Wendy's hamburger restaurant built their point of sale system with our tools, and which was a big enterprise system, and miraculously, even to this day, how big brands don't want you to use their logo. They let us use that Wendy's, girl braided logo. And so they let us talk about it, use their logo. And we got on the front page of PC Week, which was one of the top, tech magazines at the time. That really helped us. And so basically, even when I was at IBM as a freelance consultant, on my lunch hour, I was calling editors and talking about our software, and they were very strict at IBM. So you had a 3-strike rule where you get fired, like a security violation. So I one time, in a hurry to talk to editors, I left a disk out, and this is so long ago, there was disks. I left a disk out on my desk, and they have these security checks. That's a violation. So I had like 2 violations just because I was like trying to write code for them and then take my lunch hour to talk to editors, trying to get into Computer Language or PC Week or what, all the different magazines. And that's why you need grit. You have to have grit. I mean,
well, and a certain amount of optimism, right? I mean, you must have believed, despite all the ramen noodles that you had to eat, that there was a
you have to have
upside.
You always have to have optimism, and what's like human nature is to like at least when you're trying to improve things in your company or product, focus on improvement. But man, you got to relish in all the good that you do and keep talking about it. And I think entrepreneurs by default, not learning it, but by default are natural optimists and people that have grit. I do think those are ingredients to be an entrepreneur.
Well, so now let's talk a little bit about the book, which is effectively When Grit Is Not Enough.
Yes.
When did you realize that, okay, we're starting to get to a point where we need systems, culture, organization over and above what the three of us can do in this one room.
Yeah, like what happens when you're a non-funded company, a lot of times you could fix problems by just not taking salary. Like, but then you get to a point where just you not taking salary, you're just got too big for that. And so like you could solve some problems just not taking salary, which of course we all did. But like I said, at some point we got to, we that didn't solve our problems. And what happened to us was we had $618 in the bank, and we had a $580,000 a month expense structure. And so we were legally bankrupt. And but it was, I would just, like a lot of entrepreneurs, just do whatever it took, which is also, I write in the book, that's not healthy. Don't do that. Don't do whatever it takes, because you have to take care of yourself in order to actually do good work, be a good manager, take care of people. But it was that kind of like that really a point where, we had a near death experience as a company, and just going crazy, doing everything you can. Just you got to build the team. The team has to help you get it done. And so that was like a big turning point. But everything I write about in the book has been learned over 35 years. So there's even things I wrote about in the book that we weren't doing even 8 years ago that, that we're doing now. So, you learn how to, you learn all these things. And what I mean by when grit's not enough is that, like, you get to a point in your life cycle of your company where just hard work, grit is not enough. You got too big, and you need to have, good team, good processes, good, be data driven, you need all these things that I write about in the book.
Yeah, and one of the things you do write about is culture.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it was well said. There's well, let's talk about culture real quick.
Yeah.
Because I think it's an interesting time for young companies, but I think it's an interesting time for growing companies and mature companies, because it's been my experience anyway that a lot of culture is absorbed organically, interpersonally in the office, and now we've reached this point in post-pandemic corporate America where not everybody is coming into the office. I mean, how do you get that culture across when it might not happen quite as organically as you like?
Yeah, I mean, people and culture is the fabric of every successful company and continued success. So, at first it may be organic, but then you have to be intentional about it and nurture it. And like we're in 7 countries around the world, and then you have these subcultures. So even if you have people coming into the office, when you become a multinational company, you also have to work even harder now because you have these subcultures. But you want your core culture to permeate through everywhere, whether you're working from home or in other countries. And it really is the fabric that allows you, at least allow any company to have that sustainability and that resilience to continue to address technology changes and business problems. So, I mean, how do you do it? Like I said, it starts with like, well, what is culture? It's like how you work together, getting work done, getting things done. And it absolutely starts with the leader, but you get to a point where it's not just the leader. And so, and everyone watches a leader. So like, you have to be very intentional and know that like who you praise, the stories you tell, your tone, what you're talking about impacts the culture and how people behave and work. And so, it starts with the hiring. It starts with and how you treat each other and what you also don't put up with, like having those tough conversations. If people are not having good behaviors, that you address it, because that's and I talk about trust and as well, that it's so hard to gain trust and so quick to lose it. And part of having a good culture is that, when you have an A team, people are really working hard, doing great work, and you have a really skilled, smart person on that team, but they're like those soft skills they're corrosive, and you allow it, it can ruin your culture. And so you really they need to see you address it and be fair about it. And but it can be both helpful to your culture and it could devastate it. So it's always it's an ongoing effort, and there's a lot of things you can do for that. But like core to everything is people and culture.
So when did you begin to recognize that and start to formalize your culture? I mean, obviously it does start organically just by your being you and your partners being them, and then your hires being queuing off of that. I mean, there is this kind of organic nature to how culture begins anyway. And certainly I think we've all seen some toxic cultures in our time. When did you guys start to realize you needed to formalize that and create the Infragistics way that you've got now?
Well, I was fortunate that I had worked so much before even starting Infragistics, in a lot of different companies. I'm talking, in the restaurant business and in a lot of other businesses. And then I was, during school, I wrote software for companies and operated their mainframes. And after graduating college, I was a freelance consultant. I worked at a lot of Wall Street and enterprise large companies, and I saw a lot of bad things. And so I was very intentional. Like, I didn't like any of that. And, and so even in the beginning, like, I was very intentional, like, okay, we show up at work and like, we need to, have a nice, comfortable working. We want to win for sure. We want to build great software. We want to sell. We want to do a lot of good things, but it's like, we got to enjoy the day, because like there's so much hardship to getting where you want to go that you need this like welcoming, friendly environment and just be real and human. And so I saw too many bad things that we were very intentional in the beginning, maybe intentional in how we were acting, because when you're a small company, like, you are driving the culture and it's what you want in your personality. And but then over time, then you get more intentional about how to keep that healthy and good culture. And we have people at our company that they can work anywhere and they act, and they've been with us. We have people with us for 30 years. We got some incredible geniuses working for us for 20 years, 15 years. I mean, it's amazing. It's like some of the most rewarding. It's really rewarding for me to know that these people could work anywhere and probably make more money, but definitely work anywhere. And yet they stay with us because they enjoy their job. They enjoy who they're working with. They enjoy what they're working on. They enjoy the culture. And it's such an important ingredient in an organization.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what you're working on. So, Infragistics, in a nutshell, how would you describe Infragistics?
Well, it used to be easier to describe Infragistics. So, it's a little bit harder now, but we sell, like, our purpose and what we talk about is simple and beautiful. Like, whatever we do, we want to create simple and beautiful digital experiences, one app at a time. And so we have tools that we sell to developers and designers that does design to code with our app builder. So you can take like design systems and UX designs and branded experiences, and then we bring them into our app builder, which is a low code tool that it generates JavaScript, Blazor, Angular, and we'll be shipping React in a few, like a few weeks or a month. And then we started off building UI components, user interface components, and we actually built in Windows 2.0 one of the first UI components, and we licensed Microsoft one of the first UI components in VB 1.0. And so we've been building user interface components for 35 years, and that's like a big core of our product. These UI libraries, these the fastest grids on the market, pivot tables, spreadsheets, data visualization, all these UI components, and so that's kind of our core product line. And over the years, we've gone from desktop. We got from like VB, C, C++, Pascal, desktop, mobile, now to the web stack. And so we're really well known for our UI components, and we're in some of the biggest applications in the world. ISV applications. We're in like every 911 system. We're in all the major banks: Charles Schwab, Fidelity, Morgan, all their trading, customer facing apps, and then we're in a ton of ISV commercial SaaS apps. So that's one. Those are like two product lines: our UI components and App Builder. And then we have Reveal, which is an embedded SDK for SaaS companies to very quickly add analytics and dashboarding and visualizations to their app. And so that's our kind of developer and designer tools that we're really well known for. And within like 5 years, we've invested in a B2B product called Slingshot, which is a data-driven work management tool. And our goal is really to transform organizations to a data-driven, agile learning organization. And so what Slingshot is, it's data analytics connecting to all of your SaaS systems and databases. And, we're all connecting, we're doing a lot of AI work as well in there. And so conversational analytics. And then, but what we do is like, we're a big believer in fact-based decisions. So you have all these signals from all your different systems, and then what you need to do is collaborate with the team and interpret that, and then use the scientific method to hypothesize. Okay, here's what we know is happening. We don't always know why, but let's create an experiment and intentionally measure that and try and improve a business outcome. So we really believe in that whole process, which we do as an organization. And so Slingshot really models that whole thing, bringing in operational data, understanding your metrics and data across multiple systems, and then bringing it right into the workflow and the conversation where you get insight, you collaborate about that, hypothesize what's going on, and then create a work back plan, with our work management, our task management, and go and just keep agilely iterating and driving, driving learning and driving, trying to improve improve whatever you're trying to improve in terms of your business. So it's that's kind of like new for us. We're really excited about that.
Yeah, I think what we've seen in covering the space is certainly the latter part of your journey. This idea that tool sets are becoming more and more low code, no code, user friendly, democratized, I think is one way that people talk about it. And now certainly with the advent of the data tools and the ability through SDKs like Reveal to embed these sorts of data presentation layers. You've got this world of data-filled business. I know you've talked a little bit about there are 7 steps to mastering a data-filled world. I want to focus in on one, which is encouraging a company of citizen data scientists.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that drives down to creating this learning organization and this kind of growth mindset where, it doesn't eliminate intuition and all that, but intuition by itself is not a good path to solving business problems or solving problems. And so, creating, you kind of use the term data scientist loosely, because it can get pretty deep or it can get pretty shallow, but minimally you want your business people to understand how to interpret data, to use data in their problem-solving efforts, and to use a scientific method. And so I think that's like the minimum bar is understanding, mean and median and averages and outliers of data so that you don't misinterpret data. And then, but even before that, it's like use data. And there's too many data silos, especially in big companies. And everyone's using so many SaaS systems that there's data sprawl everywhere. And so what I mean by that is that you want people using data, understand the signals that are happening in your business, collaborate, draw conclusions, and test to kind of like keep iterating in an agile way to solve problems, whatever they are, whether they're sales, marketing, support, product market fit. I mean, there's so many different ways to use it. So we're really big proponents of that. And then what's so great that of this business we're in is like when we haven't talked about AI, but AI is just this major fundamental shift. I mean, this is bigger than anything I've seen, bigger than client server, bigger than cloud computing, bigger than mainframe to PC. I mean, bigger than any of those things. And so like what we're working on, it is really amazing what you can do now, where we're pulling the data from all these operational systems, we're labeling it, and then so that we can train our AI. And like I said, have these conversational analytics, which are fact-based, and we tell you it's fact. Like these are facts about what's happening in your business across your system, and give some insight to it. But then you can also get some, like a lot of times asking these why questions and trying to really understand why is that happening is not so easy. But that's the other interesting part. What we're discovering with AI is that now here's where it can, you can have some hallucinations and you can have some answers. But we'll really tell you when it's fact-based and across your different systems, but then you could collaborate with it and try and understand, blending all this data together from all your systems of record to try and understand why something's happening, and like collaborating with the AI where you're not taking it as fact-based, but a collaboration. So it's really amazing what our guys are doing, and just amazing what the whole industry's doing now. I mean,
well, seeing is how you brought it up.
Yeah, how can that? Yeah.
Let's get into it a little bit, because I'm with you, man. I've seen a lot of things. I used to buy my music in a store, and those days are over. I've seen a lot of things. I go back to pre IBM 1983. So, I've never seen anything like this, and I thought the internet was the greatest thing I've ever seen. That I've never seen anything like this, and it seems like it's happening literally every week. I mean, if you're paying attention to what's happening on Hugging Face right now, it's mind-boggling. I mean, I'm sure you guys are rubbing your hands together, but I don't see how you couldn't. But I'm curious. The CEO of NVIDIA, Jensen Huang, said effectively, it's our job to create computing technology such that nobody has to program, and the programming language is human. Everybody in the world is now a programmer. This is the miracle of AI. As an old coder, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so I was just at South by Southwest last week, and I really like Ray Kurzweil. Like he wrote the book The Singularity a long time ago, and so he makes all these predictions, so one of his, I saw him speak, and then I ran into him in the hallway, and he was like, these LLMs I predicted would happen in 2 years, so we're a little bit ahead of ourselves right now, but not decades, but in years there will be no more programmers. I'm like, well, I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, and he goes, don't worry, you'll find another job. And I was like, well, wait a minute.
You might have timed it just perfectly.
Yeah, I'm like, well, wait a minute. We like our core business is selling to developers and designers, and so I don't know, it's like the senior VP from DeepMind at Google, even though they're really behind everything, but what they're still got some good AI that they state, our AI at programming now will beat any coding competition. And I believe them. But, where we're at right now is like 20% productivity. And we're having all our guys use AI and, GitHub Copilots, and because it helps you. It's very helpful. Will developers go away? Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I hope not in years. I hope decades. But, whatever happens, what we've always done is we continue to build out our vision and of our future, and we stay at it. And And then what happens is that when things start shifting and innovation happens, we utilize it, and you find the opportunities in the market, and you're not at the base floor of building a house. You're like at story 2 or 3. And then when technology and innovation happens, we can leverage it and then, and then find opportunity. So I don't know the future. I don't really like that race prediction. I hope he's not right in years. I don't think he is, but I do believe we'll all be just fine. I mean, even though it's scary. So I'm very excited about AI, and I'm very scared of AI. Yeah.
I'm not one to worry about it eliminating the human race, but I'm fearful that it's going to eliminate a lot of hardworking people from the workforce. I mean, and that I mean, all the the world works as it works, right? Businesses drive innovation based upon chasing profit, and the reason why there's a thriving developer community in India is because it became cheaper to offshore coding, a lot of the coding, to massive development firms in India. And truth be told, I mean, I'm not sure how many coders there are that would be impacted at kind of that level in the next couple of years. But I think at that level, there are going to be millions of them, or hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, I mean, like where the state of the art is today, it's really a great aid to developers. And some of the biggest SIs that you're referring to, Infosys and Wipro and Tata, they're big customers of ours. And I believe everything's going to evolve. Building commercial and these big enterprise systems, man, it's still pretty complex. And if you look at if you've ever been in an enterprise, and you probably have, oh my God, they have technology. They have every technology across every life cycle of technology. It's still running. I mean, it's not easy problems to solve. So I do believe that right now AI is just a great benefit to getting your work done. And I see new jobs. I don't see developers going away. They're going to skill up, leverage the AI, do different things, and then just a lot of great things are coming out of it. Especially like this whole synthetic biology, like how they solved created some of these vaccines where they just used these brute force computers and tested 1,000 permutations of a vaccine, and then picked the 3, and then and did it. So there's a lot of good things that are going to happen. And the other conversation too is the AIs and data and cloud, how much power and energy it's taking. So like these what are they called, exo computers, it's like 1,000 laptops. When they're in idle mode, they're burning the energy of like 3,000 or 4,000 homes. So it's like you type in the prompt of search, not that much power, but now you type in the prompt and you have an AI running on the back end. Yeah, a lot of power. But I'm an optimist. So like I was scared by Ray's point of view, but I know that we'll all be just fine. And even though our biggest customers our customers, I should say, not our biggest customers, our customers are developers, but I see that you and I will be in business for many decades, serving the technologists of the world.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, truth be told, I mean, we've had to have a hard look. I mean, the solutions review has been in the business of putting words on screens, publishing, and writing articles about the latest developments on fine companies like Infragistics, and we've seen and had an honest conversation internally about what is the future of content creation and where do we go, and honestly, we're very much about migrating to conversations like this, the human conversation, which AI can't replicate, but AI can replicate words on screens incredibly well, and really well. And that's just iteration 1.0 effectively. Yes. And I don't think there's any question that I think even inside the largest tech companies in the world, I got to believe inside Google right now, they are wondering whether or not they're going to have a business. I mean, I go back to the days where it was Yahoo, and it was, remember Yahoo was like curated.
Yeah.
Before there was Google, there was Yahoo. You'd follow these clicks and follow these little categories down until you found kind of this cluster of links that was presented to you as the only answer.
Yeah.
And then Google came along with this singular, and the Yahoo page was a mess, but Google came along with this singular search box and nothing else. And we all couldn't wrap our mind around it. And within 2 years, Yahoo was tatters.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think when you look at a company like Microsoft or you look at Google today, if they have this learning growth mindset and adapt and listen and learn and they can be viable. I mean, look at Microsoft. At one point, they were so against open source and you'd only use Windows, and they battled and they owned the market and they battled, but yet these forces battle against them. They could have gone out of business, but then they changed their mindset to be like, okay, let's just solve problems. Let's just understand customer need. And
365 was
let's just solve problems.
Huge.
Yeah, so if you have that mindset, I think Google can be here forever. But yeah, they're threatened because Google search. No, I mean, people want more than search now, and so, but I think everyone could be around. You, me, and everyone else, the big guys, the little guys, if we have this, growth mindset, look at the innovation. Yeah.
So talk about that, because, I mean, this is going to be a problem that faces your organization. It's certainly a challenge that faces your organization. It's going to face all of us. I mean, we've had the conversation internally about what we are with regard to publishing and where we want to move to as a media company. And so how do you, not to try to solve the problem, but how do you address the problem? I mean, what do you do internally? Do you start to hold strategic thinking? Do you do that anyway? I mean, is this a topic that you're already kind of puzzling over?
Yeah, well, it's similar to what you did. Like, you're right. Content writing is that's not the value now. It's how can you make the human connection and deliver engaging experiences like what you're doing here. Like, you have to be honest about those conversations and where you invest. And so, we have a 3-year strategic plan. We're going to still stay focused on it, but we're going to pivot and change based on innovation and technology. So, we have a good roadmap to leverage AI in our app builder. Now, even without AI, our app builder was moving to a no-code experience in probably, 4 to 8 quarters. But our core audience is professional developers still, and we felt that always will. So our strategy is we're staying focused on our strategic vision, but we're pivoting as things change in both market need and technology. And so, we're building heavily on AI now in Reveal, our analytics engine, in Slingshot, and in App Builder, and then we'll flow with the market. And you have to be honest with yourself. The biggest companies can falter if they ignore reality. Like, you have to not ignore reality. You have to constantly be thinking about the opportunity and where customer needs going to go away and what future customer need you can provide. So that's an ongoing thought process that we all have to do. But at the same time, we're still staying to our core strategy of what we want to do with App Builder, what we want to do with our analytics engine, and what we want to do with Slingshot. And so, if developers go away, there's going to be the need to still solve problems with technology. Well, we can be a provider of that. So maybe we won't those developers then become some other title, because someone still has to create. Even if you're using a tool to create.
Let's bring it full circle. So as we kind of wrap it up, because we started out talking about grit and becoming an entrepreneur and so forth. I saw a video you did at Rutgers with I think it was an online thing, but I'm sure the audience were young folks who were looking for a good reason to to jump in with both feet. What advice would you provide to somebody who is thinking they might have the grit and they might be just cut out to get through those tough few years? I mean, what would you say to somebody in terms of thinking about starting a business?
Yeah, my advice is that you stay curious, keep learning, find a problem that you're really interested in, and there's a market need for that problem, and solve it, and go for it, and then just keep listening to where the market's going and customers, and work hard at solving that problem and stay curious. That's the key. Like we said, you have to have grit because it's a bumpy road, and it's always a bumpy road. Business is always bumpy. It's bumpy for even the biggest companies, and so stay curious, find that problem you really want to solve, and go for it.
Yeah, it's great. Dean, thanks very much for the time. Appreciate the conversation. It's been a pleasure, and best of luck with Slingshot and Reveal and all the other things that you have coming up.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was nice chatting with you.
Solutions Review is inviting you to join InsightJam.com. What started a few years ago as a social media event to celebrate enterprise technology has now grown into an always-on tech community with live events, discussions, videos, vendor showcases, and industry resources. Our vetted roster of experts, thought leaders, and analysts are sharing tips and tricks daily. So if you're interested in getting involved, join the long list of companies and brands who have already participated by visiting InsightJam.com today.